Hey, welcome to Unperturbed, the podcast where high-achieving Black women come to take off their strong Black woman cape. You know, the one that keeps them people-pleasing, overgiving, and putting themselves dead last. Yeah, we're not doing that anymore. On Unperturbed, we're empowering you to put you first, unapologetically and boldly, so you can show up for yourself the same way you've been showing up for everyone else. This is where empty vessels get refilled. So look, go ahead and like and subscribe to this channel, share it with your sister friends who are running around with empty cups too, and then come kick it with us inside The Haven, our private Facebook community where we go even deeper. Trust me, you need this space. Head on over to enterthehaven.net to join us. All right, it's time for the best part. Let's get into it. Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your girl, once again, back for another episode of Unperturbed, the podcast. Listen, this is where we are dismantling the hold that this title of strong Black woman has on us. We're done. Yeah, we're done. We are done. We are so very, very done, because strong Black womanhood, as we are living by it now, is very toxic. It's literally killing us. So we're getting rid of it. We're letting it go. We're done with that. And so I am so excited about this season. So excited about the guests that have been coming on this season and about the conversations that we've been able to have. The last few of them, we've been talking about breaking free. And I feel like in this particular climate, it's important to talk about breaking free from toxic environments. Why, might you ask? Well, maybe you haven't been watching the news, or maybe you've never been stuck in a toxic environment. But if you happen to be working in anywhere in government, whether it's federal, state, or any place else, you might find that your environment has become toxic, or has become more toxic than it has been in the past. And for some of us, we try to figure out, how do I navigate toxic environments? There comes a time, though, when we have to break free. And it sounds really easy when you go to conferences and you watch videos, you watch reels, you watch all of these things that are all this information that's being thrown at us on a daily basis. We look at that and we think that breaking free from toxic environments or navigating toxic environments, these are just things that you can do. And it's not always that easy. I have been in toxic environments. And one of the things, I've been in a lot of them actually. And one of the things people don't talk enough about is how hard it can be to get rid of toxic environment, to get out of toxic environments. And so I wanted to take some time and just talk through this episode of breaking free from toxic environments. We'll talk about toxic people on another episode, because they each need their own episode. We can't talk about both unless you're willing to sit here for a 2-hour episode, because each needs to be talked about very specifically, right? Toxic people and toxic environments. The commonality between the two is that sometimes it can be difficult to exit toxic environments, right? You're figuring, it can't be that hard to get out of the toxic environment. If I'm feeling stifled, if I'm feeling undervalued or abused or misused or overlooked, right, or mishandled, I should be able to be like, adios, deuces, gotta go, no problem, I'm done. And that's not always the case, right? I have lots of examples, so go with me here. But the last job I had, quite honestly, I knew 3 years in, I'm done. I was at that place for 6 years. I knew after 3 years, it was toxic to me. It might have been a place where other people really found whatever they found that worked for them, but it had done for me all it could do. And by year 3, I knew it was toxic to me. Not only was there no place for me to go professionally in terms of moving up, I knew the people didn't like me. I knew that the people running the company didn't like me. I knew that the only reason they wanted me there was because I was making them money. There wasn't a lot of respect. There wasn't, I constantly felt overlooked. I constantly felt undervalued. I knew that my only benefit to them, the only thing that was made clear to me that was of value to them was my performance, not me as a person. And after 3 years of being in that position, I knew I need to move on. I had only gotten the job because I had to close my business because it was '09 and the recession had hit, right? So I knew I had to get this job because apparently when you have kids, you have to feed them. That's one of the rules or laws. Feed your kids. So I had to get a job, right? I had to close my business down, get a job. But I knew it was driving me insane and it was driving my bosses insane too, because if you're an entrepreneur, that entrepreneur in you does not shut up just because you're getting a paycheck from somebody. You're always thinking entrepreneurially, right? That's one of the buzzwords we use, right? Thinking like an entrepreneur on the dime of your employer. If you do not have an employer that values that, if they're not risk takers, if they're not innovative, if they're not creative in the way they do business, you drive them nuts because you're always thinking of new things to do, new ways to do it. And they're like, would you just shut up and do your job? Right. So that was a lot of the friction that we had. Right. So 3 years comes. I know I should be done with this job. It is not serving me. We don't like each other. We're using each other for something. And it is a really toxic working relationship, toxic working environment. And I did not leave. At that mark, I stayed another 3 years. By the time I left that job, I was literally crying on my way to work, sitting in the parking lot, either still crying or cleaning up my face from crying because I did not want to go back into that toxic working environment. I hated that job. By the time I left, it was such a painful place to be. And that is the hallmark of a toxic environment. It is like burning hot tar that you have immersed your body in. You don't want to be neck deep, face deep in this scalding hot tar, but you can't get out of it. You want to get out of it, but you cannot see your way out of it. It pulls on you. It keeps you from getting out. And it's toxic. You need to get out of it, but you just can't seem to find your way out of it. The challenge with toxic environments is that they have a hold on us and we can't figure out how to get away. And the reason for that, for many of us, is that it offers something to us that we're not ready to let go of. So I'll say that again. One of the reasons it's hard to get out of toxic environments is because, quite honestly, many times toxic environments offer us something that we don't want to get rid of. So we will tolerate the toxic working environment because the pay is good. We'll tolerate a toxic relationship because there's some aspect of it that's good. Maybe the boom boom time might be doing it for you, right? The pipe is being laid and you happy about that. So you find a way. We find ways to remain in toxic environments and in toxic relationships because there's a trade-off for us. For some of us, it is the toxic, I'll stay in this toxic relationship because it's easier knowing the mess rather than to go and find a new mess, right? Or if you're dating right now, God bless your heart. But we all know that the dating scene right now is really jacked up. It's hard to be out here dating, right? And so you might stay in a relationship simply because what you have is what you're accustomed to, and you figure, I can just tolerate it. And that's what toxic environments do. They make us feel like there's some redeeming value, some potential, something that we get out of it that we don't want to let go of. And so we try to make ourselves content with the toxicity that is in that environment because that's what's easy. That it's hard to let go of a toxic job when you're making a lot of money because I want to keep my lifestyle. I want to keep living at this level. I'm going to find a way to suck it up, to push through, to power through, and to make the best of it. Right? We put up with these environments with the hopes that we can just hang in there. And this benefit that we're getting, we think is enough to pay for the toxicity that we're putting up with every day. And at some point, our body says, we are done. I can't put up with this anymore. Right? For some of us, it's a breakdown. That's what it was for me. It was a complete, total breakdown that took me 6 weeks to recover from. Others of us, it's physical. You end up with a heart attack, a stroke. You end up with anxiety or depression. Like it starts to ooze itself out of your body. Right? And you think you're hanging in there, but you're just hanging like by the neck. You are just hanging. You are not thriving. You are not happy. You are not surviving. You're existing, trying to force yourself to make the best of this thing. And I know this very, very well because I've been there. I have lived this. I have been in toxic work situations that, like I told you before, I couldn't get out of. Not that I couldn't get out of it. I was afraid to get out of it. I've been in toxic relationships that I knew after the first year, this is not for me. This is not going to go the way I thought it was going to go when I said, yes, let's be together. Right? I've been and yet still stayed in those places years after having that discovery. I have been working with organizations that have been 100% dysfunctional and toxic and not good, not fixable, but just my inability to let it go kept me in those spaces much longer because it offered me something. It boosted it offered me the potential of an ego boost of being able to say, I conquered this environment. I built something despite having all of this toxic crap around me. I'm a shining star. Look at me. And let's be honest, high achievers, that's what we live off of that. We live off of coming into chaos and creating order. That is a dopamine hit that's like crack for us to be able to come into things that aren't looking the way they are supposed to. And to bring order to them, to bring clarity to them. That is how we got to be high achieving, how we got to be successful entrepreneurs, high positioned executives and leaders. Wherever you fall, we didn't get to where we are by just letting environments have their way with us. We figure, I can master this. I'm strong enough, smart enough, strategic enough to handle this. When the truth of the matter is, none of us is Superman. None of us can handle toxicity forever. Even when you're exposed to little bits of toxicity, it's like radiation, right? You can be exposed to minute rays of X-rays over the years. They add up. Today, that little micrometer, I should know better because I'm in the sciences. I should know how X-rays are measured. But a few wavelengths of X-rays, right? Just being exposed to it just a little bit today, there's no harm in that. Just a little bit tomorrow, There's no harm in that. But you do that every day for 5 years, every day for 10 years, every day for 30 years. And now you've got cancers. Now you've got real radiation exposure. Now you've got radiation exposure sickness, or you've got conditions that have arisen in your body from being exposed to toxic elements every day for an extended period of time. Toxic environments, they don't have to be radioactive to produce toxicity in your life and in your body. They don't have to be nuclear waste. It can be the thing that you continue to expose yourself to, knowing full well you hate it. It's not where you're supposed to be, that you're supposed to not be there and to be working in another place, or not be with that person and actually being in a season where you get to manage just you, or not in that relationship and in a season where the person you're actually supposed to be with gets to find you. That's where you're supposed to be, but you won't know that because you are in tar up to your neck in a toxic environment that you either can't or won't leave, because whatever is in that toxic environment is offering you something that you are willing to receive. You are willing to trade your peace and your happiness and your joy for that thing that you think is so valuable that you can't just let go. If I let this thing go, I'm not going to have. If I walk away from this toxic working environment, I'm not going to have my 6-figure position. If I walk away from this relationship, I'll be alone, or I won't have anybody to hang out with, or I won't have those friends anymore. They may not be great friends, but at least when we're out, we have a great time. But behind the scenes are really trashy people that I don't like, but we have a great time when we go out together. Those are toxic environments. Here's how you know that these are toxic environments, in case what I've described for you didn't resonate enough. Here's how you know that you're in a toxic environment when, number one, your body tells you, this doesn't feel good. I don't like this. I'm not thriving. You'll know you're in a toxic environment when you find yourself censoring yourself, not showing up fully. I've closed myself off from that relationship, or now I can only go to work. I'm going to work. I'm going to do the job, spend my 8 hours, do the things only I'm supposed to do, and come home. I'm not befriending anyone. I'm just here to be a cog in the wheel. That's it. Right? When you find yourself pulling back, when you find yourself censoring yourself, when you don't feel safe in those environments anymore, your happiness is gone, your joy is gone, all of that stuff has been basically zapped out of you. That's how you know you're in a toxic environment. So what do we do? What do we do? How do we reclaim our strength and say, hey, I'm not going to allow myself to continue looking for strength in this toxic environment, showing up as strong simply because I can carry the crap of this environment for 8 hours, or for however many hours long, for however many years long. Here is 3 things. First of all, you got to decide. You've got to make a decision. And for some of us, that's the hard part. We talk a lot about, I'm so sick of this place, I should be leaving. But making the decision, I am going to depart from here. I'm done. Like, I'm actually done. Not that I'm done, but I'm coming back. I'm done. And I've made the decision that this is the last day, last month, last 6 months that I'm going to deal with this. The decision. Right? Then when you make the decision, the next thing that has to come is a plan. Unless you're in a position to just walk away, sometimes your exit needs a strategy. When I left my second marriage, which was very abusive, I had to have a plan. You don't just walk out of those situations. That could cost you your life. There was a plan. Wait until he's at work. Gather up everything you can gather, get it in your truck, get your kid, and get gone. That took planning. That took thinking. That took a very clear strategy for exiting that toxic situation. You have to do the same. You have to have an exit plan. And that's one of the things I do help people do, because I've been there, both with my job and in my marriage, my second marriage. Getting out required a plan. Most things you don't just, today I have a job, tomorrow I don't. Most of the time we're not just quitting or walking away. We have to have an exit strategy, an exit plan. And then the last thing you do is beat feet. The last thing you do is get out, go, follow the plan. You do not have to continue subjecting yourself to a toxic environment. That is not being strong. Strong is no longer being excellent with a load of crap on your back. No longer. Strong is looking at a toxic situation and saying, I don't belong here. I will not remain here. I'm leaving. And I leave. That is the strength. It takes strength to walk away from an environment that doesn't serve you. It takes strength to make a decision that I have to make a change. That is where strength happens, not in you showing up for the next 3 or 4 years in turmoil. You have strength. You are strong. I want to help you use it in the right way. And the right way means making that decision to get out of that toxic environment, creating a plan with a timeline for your exit strategy for getting out of that environment, and then leaving, actually executing that strategy. I want you free, friend. I want you free, 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 free. We're breaking free of toxic environments. That's what I want for you today. Listen, if you don't get nothing else out of this, I want you to know that where you are, if it is a toxic place, you don't have to stay there. You can get out. I want you to know that without a doubt. And I want you to stay connected to this podcast. And I want you to join my community, The Haven. Go to enterthehaven.net. Join a community of high-achieving Black women who have said enough. We are no longer going to show up for everybody else and leave ourselves for last. We are not going to ascribe to this toxic sort of strength any longer. We are done. So go to enterthehaven.net and join me there. Listen, I hope you have enjoyed this episode. Like, share, subscribe. Make sure that you stay tuned, stay connected to Unperturbed, stay connected to me, because I'm going to help us all redefine what it means to be strong. Until next time, I love you so very much, and I'm wishing all the best for you. Take care of you, just like you take care of everybody else. Take care. Hey, thanks for joining me for another powerful conversation. If that hit home for you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss what's coming next. And definitely share this with a sister friend so she can get in on this too. Now look, don't just stop here. Let's continue the conversation inside The Haven, my private Facebook community where we get even deeper and do the real work of shedding the strong Black woman mindset. This is a safe space I've curated just for us. Head on over to enterthehaven.net to join us today. Now, before you go, drop a comment and let me know what resonated with you the most, and I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, take care of you first. See you soon.